This section is on word problems. So we're going to have three different types of word problems on your test. Could be number problems, could be perimeter problems, or it could be consecutive integer problems. This is the first of those types, the number problems. The steps for solving word problems are listed here. You should always read the problem carefully to determine what you know and what you need to know. Then pick a variable to represent what you're trying to solve for. Translate the word problem to an algebra problem, solve it, and then make sure your answer is reasonable. Okay, let's solve this first problem. What number? We're going to decide that to be variable x. You can pick any variable. I'm going to use x. When decreased by, that's subtraction, 5, and then the equals means equals. So always define your variable. So I'm going to say x is the number, and I'll just use a pound sign for that. What number, when decreased by 5, equals 15? You've translated the problem. Now let's use our skills to solve it. We always want to get the x by itself, so I need to get rid of this negative 5. So in order to undo that, I need to add 5 to both sides. The minus 5 plus 5 cancels to give you 0, bring you x equals 15 plus 5 is 20. And to check the reasonableness, you could just substitute it back in and say, well, 20 when decreased by 5 is 15. That's reasonable. All right, here's another problem. What number, so we're going to say x is the number, increased by, that's addition, 2 is another way to say equals. So this equation would be what number x plus increased by 2 is 5. So now you've translated it. What we want to do is solve it. To get rid of a plus 2, we want to do the opposite, which is subtract 2. So the plus 2 minus 2 cancels to give you 0, leaves you x equals 5 minus 2, or 3. Okay, something a little bit harder. The sum, we know that means addition. What number? There's our variable x. Well, here's a new thing we haven't seen yet. What does twice that number mean? Well, we're still referring to the number x here, but we're saying twice that, which means 2 times that number x. And of course, equals. So x is again the number. So what number and the 2x, so that's the sum of what number and twice that number, equals 9. Here you've got like terms. You've got variables with the same exponent. Add the coefficient. Well, the coefficient in front of that x is really a 1. So 1 plus 2 is going to give me 3x equals 9. This is a multiplication problem, so to undo multiplication, divide both sides by 3. 3 divided by 3 is just 1, so they cancel to give you x equals 3. Okay, this one at first glance looks like it could be an inequality because you see that word less than. It's not. When you have an inequality, it's going to say something like at most or no greater than. Less than here is simply a subtraction problem. But when you see that keyword than, that means to switch the order of these two things. Okay? So keep that in mind as we're translating. So 2, that's the subtraction. 4 times what number? Again, that what number is the x, and this is 4 times that number, is we know is equals. Okay? So x is going to stand for the number. So instead of doing 2 minus 4x, because of the word than, we're going to say 4x minus 2 is 34. Okay, so now this is a two-step equation. We want to get rid of the minus 2, so add 2 to both sides. That'll get the x term by itself. So we get 4x equals 36. And now we need to get rid of this 4 that's being multiplied by the x. So to undo multiplication, divide. And the x's cancel to give you x equals 9. Okay, one last number problem example. When you see the word of, that means multiplication. So what number again is x? So this is saying 1/2 times x when it says 1/2 of what number? And 5 more means plus, and then the is, of course, is the equals. So again, x is the number, so we'll define our variable, and our equation is going to be 1/2 x plus 5 equals 12. Here we want to get rid of the plus 5, so subtract 5. That gets the x term by itself on the left. So I get 1/2 x equals 12 minus 5, which is 7. This is multiplication, but it's with a fraction. One way you can get rid of the fraction is to multiply both sides by the reciprocal of the fraction. So we're going to multiply both sides by 2 over 1. That's going to be the reciprocal of 1/2. Reciprocal means flip that. So multiply this side also by 2 over 1, which we know is just 2. So this becomes 2 over 2x, which we know is just 1x, and 7 times 2 is 14.